You stole this car. I saw you take it. I didn't steal anything. This is my car. Imagine being accused of stealing your own car, all because you refused to hand the keys to your neighbor's spoiled son. It's early morning in Maple Ridge Estates. A tall black man sips his coffee in peace when the pounding on his garage door starts. Outside, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed queen, Viva Hartman, is losing her mind, screaming that he's hiding stolen property. Behind her, her teenage son smirks like he's untouchable, still furious that Elijah wouldn't let him take the 1968 Mustang for a quick spin. But what Vivia doesn't know is who Thaman she's threatening really is. 4 weeks earlier, Elijah had moved into Maple Ridge Estates after his promotion to chief of police. After 21 years of apartment living, he'd finally bought his first house, a simple 4-bedroom home with a 3-car garage. Nothing extravagant, just enough room for his pride and joy. A 1967 Ford Mustang Boss 427 in grabber blue paint. He and his late father had rebuilt that car bolt by bolt, spending 5 patient years on every panel and polish. It was their last project together before cancer took his father's life. The car wasn't just a machine. It was a memory that roared when the engine started. Since moving in, Elijah had driven it only 3 times. Neighbors usually waved or admired it, most of them anyway. Vivia Hartman was not among those neighbors. She lived 4 houses down with her 19-year-old son and treated the subdivision like her private empire. The first day they met, she'd marched over with a thick binder labeled HOA Guidelines and Expectations, scolding him for letting his moving truck stay parked of minutes past curfew. Vivian's bleached blonde hair stayed perfectly styled even in the 90-degree heat. She had that clipped smile of someone used to being obeyed. "We run a tight ship here in Maple Ridge Estates," she'd told him. "I trust you'll be a compliant addition to our community." Elijah had simply taken the binder, offered a polite nod, and said nothing about his job. He preferred to keep his work separate from his home life. The last thing he needed was neighbors treating him differently because he wore a badge. The real trouble began during his second week. Elijah was in the garage buffing the chrome on the Mustang when Logan Hartman strutted up the driveway like he owned it. The kid's designer sneakers squeaked across the concrete. "Sweet ride," Logan said, running a hand along the freshly polished fender. "V8429 Cobra Jet," Elijah replied, gently moving the boy's hand aside. "Just finished waxing that spot." Logan's eyes lit with that familiar look. "Want it, take it. Get it. You should let me take it for a spin." He said, "I'm an excellent driver." "Got my license last month." Elijah almost laughed. A 18-year-old with a month behind the wheel isn't driving a 400-horsepower muscle car. Not in this lifetime. Logan's face hardened. "My dad pays a lot in HOA fees." "Like a lot." "That means wound part of this street. Technically, that makes me part owner of everything on it." The logic was so absurd, Elijah had to pause. "That's not how property ownership works," he said evenly. "We'll see about that," Logan muttered, stomping off. 22 minutes later, Vivia appeared at the door, dressed for battle. Crisp white pants, navy blazer pinned with the HOA emblem, heels clicking like gunfire across the porch. "Mr. Grant," she said, skipping greetings. "My son tells me you were rude to him. I told him he couldn't drive my car," Elijah answered. Her mouth flattened to thin line. "Logan is a very responsible young man. When he shows interest in something, it's only neighborly to accommodate him. We're a community here. Have you ever had someone try to guilt you into giving up something that was yours? What would you do if a neighbor demanded to drive your car, then acted offended when you said no? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe no still means no, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because some people call it community, when what they really want is control. That's a vintage car worth more than most people's yearly salary. Elijah said, "No one drives it but me. We'll see if that vehicle even complies with HOA regulations," Vivian sniffed. "I'll be reviewing the guidelines tonight." And review them, she did. Within days, Elijah Grant began receiving violation notices that bordered on ridiculous. One claimed his Mustang was too loud, though he hadn't even started it near her house. Another said the car's color was too bright and could distract passing drivers. The last tone accused him of owning a commercial vehicle because, as she wrote, it could potentially be used for racing. Elijah answered each one with calm precision, quoting the HOA bylaws word for word. Every citation she threw at him fell flat under real policy. Each time she lost an argument, Vivia Grewangrier. By the next Saturday, the problem escalated. Logan Hartman returned, this time with two friends in tow. Elijah was mowing his lawn when he spotted them heading his way. "Hey, Mr. Grant," Logan called out, his tone falsely cheerful. "Me and my boys were wondering if you'd reconsider letting us take the car out. Just a quick spin around the block." "The answer's still no." "Logan," Elijah replied, steady and firm. One of the boys, a bulky kid in a football jersey, stepped forward. "Come on, man. Don't be such a hard ass. What's it going to hurt?" Elijah straightened, his voice carrying the quiet authority of 2 decades in law enforcement. "You boys need to head home. This conversation is over." They lingered long enough for Logan to throw a glare that promised he wasn't done yet. Then they left. An hour later, Vivia was back, dragging her husband, Gregory Hartman, along. Gregory looked miserable, clearly not eager to beth her, but Vivia was already in full attack mode. "You threatened my son and his friends," she snapped. "Gregory is a lawyer. We could sue you for emotional distress." Gregory winced at her words but said nothing. Elijah already knew. Gregory was a tax attorney. Probably hadn't seen a courtroom in years. "I asked them to leave my property," Elijah said calmly. "That's within my rights." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "We'll see what the HOA board has to say about this." She spun on her heel, storming off down the driveway, while Gregory followed behind with an apologetic shrug. Elijah didn't bother to watch her go. He already knew this wasn't the end. The following HOA meeting turned into a spectacle. Elijah Grant didn't attend, but his next-door neighbor, Sandra Mills, filled him in the next day. According to her, Vivian Hartman had stood before the board for 41 full minutes, warning about the dangerous element that had moved into Maple Ridge Estates. She even brought a PowerPoint presentation complete with slides about street racing culture. Sandra had laughed as she told him, "She actually called you a hooligan." I reminded her that the only people causing trouble were her and Logan. Vivia didn't appreciate that. The harassment escalated. Elijah began finding notes tucked under his windshield wipers, his garbage cans mysteriously tipped over every trash day, and even a city notice claiming his grass was half an inch too long. Every week brought some new petty jab. Then came the morning, everything boiled over. It was a quiet Saturday. Elijah sat in his kitchen, hot coffee in hand, enjoying the calm until he heard voices outside. Looking through the window, he saw Logan again, this time with his 2 friends taking selfies beside the Mustang through the garage window. Elijah set his cup down and stepped outside. "Logan, you need to leave now." "It's just pictures, bro," Logan said. "For Instagram. My followers love cars like this. Get off my property." "I won't ask again." Logan's cheeks flared red. "You know what? Screw you. That car should be mine anyway. You're too old to appreciate it. You probably can't even drive it properly." Elijah's tone dropped low. That same commanding edge High's officers called his chief voice. "Leave now or I'll call the police." Logan scoffed. "My mom already did. She said you stole this car." She looked up their registration. "It doesn't even have your name on it." Elijah exhaled slowly. Vivia must have discovered the title was still under his late father's name. The paperwork transfer had been delayed for months. "Yeah," Logan continued, puffing up. "She said, the cops are coming to impound it. Maybe someone who deserves it can buy it at auction." That's when the sirens came. 3 patrol cars racing down the street, lights flashing blue and red. Vivia burst out of her house, phone in hand, her face lit with triumph. "Officers!" she shouted. "He's right there. The thief is right there." The lead patrol car screeched to a stop at the curb. Officers Rivera and Lang stepped out first, followed by Sergeant Hayes and the rookie, Officer Chen. The moment Rivera saw the man standing calmly beside the gleaming Mustang, Hayes' expression shifted from alert to stunned. "Chief Grant," he said, voice tight with disbelief. "Morning, Rivera," Elijah answered, hands resting lightly at his sides. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Behind him, Vivian Hartman froze mid-stride. "Chief? What do you mean, Chief?" she stammered. Lang cleared his throat, fighting to keep his tone even. "Ma'am, this is Chief Elijah Grant, the chief of police for the entire city." The color drained from Vivia's face. Logan backed away, suddenly very busy with his phone. Gregory Hartman, arriving moments later, looked as though he wished the pavement would swallow him. But the car!" Vivian gasped. The registration doesn't match. I checked. It belonged to my father, Elijah said evenly. He passed 7 months ago. I inherited it but haven't transferred the title yet. Would you like to see the will and death certificate? I didn't know, she stuttered, trembling. Ria, Elijah said, turning to the officer. Take a full report. This woman filed a false stolen vehicle complaint and has been harassing me for weeks because I refused to let her son drive my personal property. Yes, sir. Rivera flipped open his notepad. Wait, Vivia cried. It was a mistake. You called 911, Elijah replied, voice low but sharp. For you said you'd verified the registration. That's not a mistake. That's a deliberate lie. Hayes's body camera light blinked red as he faced Logan. Young man, were you involved? Logan tried to sound tough. Yeah, so what? He's been a jerk since he moved in. Thinks he's better than us. Logan, stop! Gregory hissed. But the boy only grew louder. My mom runs this neighborhood. She could buy and sell you. When my dad hears about this, we'll sue the whole department. Chen's wide eyes flicked to Elijah, who gave a single nod. Keep recording. Within an hour, neighbors filled the street watching the fallout. Vivian Hartman was cited for filing a false police report and misuse of emergency services. Logan was warned for trespassing and harassment. Elijah met her gaze. You called the police because your son wanted my car. That's not protection, it's abuse. Shaken and humiliated, Vivian stormed off with Gregory and Logan when the crowd silence following her down the street. Days later, the body cam footage spread online and her downfall was complete. The HOA voted unanimously to remove her as president, ending years of petty fines and intimidation. In court, Judge Mariel fined her $7,000, ordered 50 hours of community service, and warned that wasting police resources was no small crime. By the week's end, a Farrell sign stood in the Hartman's yard. For the first time since moving in, the silence around Elijah Grant's home felt like peace, not tension. The false queen was gone, and Maple Ridge Estates finally had its balance back. If you believe every tyrant eventually falls, smash that like button and subscribe to Rahi Trove, because when the tyrants fall and the truth stands tall,